All right, we're out here today doing proactive hog control, which is all we believe in. We do not believe that reactive hog control is ever going to really get ahead of the program. So we are setting up a bait site. On this particular bait site, we're actually mounting the camera to a tree, which we really don't like because of squirrels, but we're going to kind of cover how we do that to prevent any squirrel problems. Not 100% guarantee on that. Then we're just pouring a couple bags of corn on the ground. It's a cotton field out there right now, roughly 200 acres. Next year, it will be peanuts. So instead of worrying about that next year, we're starting now. And by the time peanut season gets here, we hope, which typically we get there, we'll kind of have the hogs taken care of. And so right now, it's just trying to assess the group. We've trapped this property for years, but our trap has always typically been on way, way, way over that side. But due to some fencing and some land clearing, it's kind of shifted the hogs' patterns. They are a migratory little animal, no home range. So now they're up over in here. A lot of good sign in here. We've got some wet stuff over here. But this is typically what you would call a dry corner that the irrigation system can't reach. So it's really not gonna throw any crops in it, but there's a little bit of a little swamp here. So we're gonna throw out some corn and see what we can bring to the table. Now, ideally what'll happen is eventually we're gonna pick a location over here. We're gonna start building our trap. We've gotta calculate in deer season. Deer season's gonna change for us. Bow season starts September. Rifle starts October. All the deer hunters are gonna start feeding corn, and that's gonna change things. That's fine, we're good with that. We know it's coming. The end of January, our deer season ends, and the hogs are like crap. I remember a spot with some good food right here. Then excuse me, they start coming in. We're cooking with gas, and by the time our farmer gets ready to throw some planters in the ground and plant peanuts, we've done taking care of those hogs. Now, it's not going to stop somebody from pushing hogs on us, which happens a lot during planting season. People shoot at them, they run them with dogs, they do all kinds of stuff, and the hogs are like, hey, we got to go someplace where that's not going to happen. And routinely, we get them pushed on us. Now, today, in the truck temperature, 112 degrees. We say it all the time. We've been doing trap maintenance since about 11 o'clock this morning. I'm probably on my third shirt. I probably need to change pants. Hottest time of the day is the best time to do this type of work because you're not going to be bumping hogs. You don't want to bump hogs. And so we're wrapping up, putting this bait site here. It's July, and we're looking at next year's planting season. So let me buzz you around a little bit. I'm going to kind of show you what we're doing with the camera here. We've come up with a different backup battery wire since there's a lot of issues with backup battery wires and squirrels. We don't like mounting to trees because of squirrels, but this is just a little temporary thing. And excuse me, and then step you out here and then kind of show you, we're not that far off of the field. We really don't want to be that close to the field, but we don't have a lot of woods to work with here. And so the goal would be is just to be very proactive with trapping these hogs way before any peanuts hit the ground next year. Hang on. All right, so you can see we're using a Jaeger Pro ice camera. The backup battery box, it's a 6-volt system. That's my fancy camera mount, which is a Gerber multiplier. This wire here, I actually found it online. It is a backup battery wire, but it's actually got a little metal casing on it. So we're giving that a shot to see if that'll prevent any squirrels. The further you can get all of this away from the tree, the better off for squirrels. We used to take this, put it right here. That's a bad idea, squirrels. So now we put it up front. We've had pretty good luck with that. So that's that. A little bit of corn on the ground. And then you're gonna see we've got some decent sign here. So we've talked about this before. That rubbing could be old, it could be new. That stuff just kind of sticks on there. And then throughout it here, you're gonna see where the hogs have been coming in. They've got rubbing on this little guy right here. And then they've got their little path. And then it pops right out here into the field. And then we've got some little wet hole over here, little rooting right here. All along this pivot, coming back here on the four-wheeler, rooting, and then of course they're going right underneath the fence there. So we've talked about this a bunch of times in other videos. Then why not just put the trap right out there? Well, because that's a food source. We need to be as far away from that field as we can, not in the hog's bedroom. We don't want to compete with that food source. Right now we're trying to figure out what the travel patterns are for these hogs. Are they coming from an adjoining property? They come through this spot here, all temporary. We're gonna work all the way around this pivot till we find the spot that tells us we got it. Again, our trap is over there. It used to be that it's still over there, but it used to be in a different spot. Probably the same trap, same location, 1,000 hogs at least. I mean, it's crazy. But a bunch of fencing went up, a bunch of land clearing went up, and now the hogs are like, we don't like that. So now we know that we've got to redo the system here, and we got to figure out what they like. And either it's go more that way, or whatever. Right now, we're just kind of trial and error. Better to be doing trial and error in July than February, March of next year when the soil's being worked up and the planters are going in the ground. Not everybody can do that, but if you try to stay ahead of the hogs, it generally works out for your favor. So we're back on property. It's probably been about 4 or 5 days since the original video that we did when we set up this bait site. Only took the hogs about 2 days to find it. We've gotten up to 17 hogs, roughly, probably more. Camera is low to the ground, and we talk about this in hog identification, that you really want these cameras up high, you know, at our trap sites and bait sites, you know, with a feeder, camera height's almost 11 feet. This one is much shorter because it's just literally a temporary bait site. And so, you know, it's probably maybe at 6-7 feet. It makes the hogs look big. It just makes them look huge, you know, and we have trouble with that when we start sending pictures to our customers. I'm like, oh my God, those are gigantic hogs. They're not really that big. And that's even with the Jager Pro Ice camera, which is at a 45-degree lens. The live video lens, we talk about this in other videos, is at a 90-degree lens. So it gives what they call a fisheye effect. This is just literally because the camera is so low to the ground. It's totally temporary, so that's why we kind of do it that way, and we know that. Again, we are not trying to trap hogs now. We are focused on next year planting season. That 200-acre pivot field is going to be peanuts. So there's not a big rush for us. You know, this is proactive hog control, not reactive hog control. And so for us, you know, it's the luxury, right? You know, it's 90 degrees, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, you know, most people, you can't trap hogs when it's hot. Yeah, you can, it's hot. That's all there is to it. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna move the bait site. We're not exactly sure how far we're gonna move it. Not far, probably within, you know, a couple 100 yards. Logistically, it's gonna be hard for us to get a trap in there. And it's gonna be logistically hard for us to respond to take hogs out, do maintenance, all the above. Was on the phone yesterday with the landowner for a good 30 minutes, just kind of pulling up Onyx Hunt. We're not sponsored, we're not endorsed by Onyx Hunt, that's just a app we use. And just kind of looking at it and going, okay, we could go down this fire break, turn here, you know, trying to get some kind of an idea how we can get in there. Again, we do not want to be in their bedroom. So this is a dry corner, maybe 10 acres, meaning there's an irrigation pivot that runs and it's called a dry corner. So, but it's got a little wet hole in it. And guess what? That's where the hogs are at. But we don't want to be so deep in there that we bump them out. We don't want to be in the crop field because that's another food source. We want to be somewhere in the middle. So after talking with him on the phone yesterday, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back up, get on the recon and try to figure out how I can get in here. And like I said, it's to get in there to put a trap in, to do maintenance, to extract hogs if we take hogs out. We gotta have all that in line before we, you know, commit to where this site's actually gonna be. So hang on. You know, right now they should be bedded down in some, you know, water, cooling down. We'll attach some of the pictures that were coming in. I mean, they just hammering it. You know, they're wanting that corn. And once we find a spot that we can live with, then probably at that point we'll bring in a feeder. We'll bring in a big pole and we'll start the process. So hang on. All right, so we're out here in the field, straight back that way, 40 yards is that temporary bait site, which we knew was just clearly going to be temporary. We can't get a trap back in there. And it was really more to just go, hey, we know the hogs are in here. Let's see what we're dealing with. So we know the numbers in the 17 range, but that's the early stages. So in the background here, you'll see about a 200-acre irrigated pivot. If you look hard, you can see the pivot kind of running over there. Big field. So what a lot of people try to do with the hogs is they fence it. And you can come in with, you know, all kinds of different fencing. There's a little bit of barbed wire hair fencing, so they're actually crawling underneath it. And then you've got completely different fencing up there, which will keep the hogs out. But if you're not inspecting your fence every day and you have a hole in it or a tree falls on it, then you got problems. We've trapped high fence operations, you know, high fences for deer, and, you know, hogs got in there. Why? Because they weren't inspecting their fences daily. And so, you know, tree falls on it. 2 weeks later, you got a pile of hogs inside a high fence, which is not a good thing. So we did find a spot up here using Onyx Hunt again. They're not sponsored by them, but we could draw a line with Onyx Hunt. It's 300 yards. The spot's good. We're going to give you some detailed footage of that. For some reason, there's a hole in the fence, man-made hole. So we're like, hey, great, you know, a door. 300 yards is nothing for a hog. On larger properties that we've trapped, we've actually monitored, and we're on a 10,000 acre tract right now, where hogs have migrated 1 mile at night from one trap to another trap, one bait site to another trap, you know, all that. So 300 yards is nothing. I like the site better. It's a little secluded. We can logistically get to it with our equipment. You know, the initial install of the trap is always the heaviest lift for us. And then after that, we've got small things to get in and out with. So we're going to pull this camera. We're going to run you up to the new site, which is 300 yards that way, show you the gap in the fence, show you how we're going to go ahead and mount it up on an old oak tree, the camera. We're going to put out 4 bags of corn and just let it ride. We're going to pour a little corn through that gap, that man-made gap, and then we're going to let it go. From that point, if they start hitting it really hard, then we will start, you know, go ahead and bring in an on-time feeder, put a feeder up, then it gets real from that point forward. Again, proactive hog control, we're looking at trapping hogs between now and April of next year, and this is July. I kind of like the idea that we're a little bit further that way. We've got, like I said, about a 10-acre wet hole, but it's dry. The irrigation pivot can't hit it. We know they're in there, and so we got to be really careful whatever we do around this 10-acre chunk that we don't blow them out. And you might be like, well, hey, that's cool if you blow them out and get rid of them, but they're going to come back. That's the problem with hogs, is they don't play by everybody's rules, and they're so migratory. And so our biggest logistical issue up there was the fence. And when you start cutting into your landowner's fence, you need permission, and generally there's a fence for a reason. But for some reason we got a hole, called the landowner, and he's like, oh yeah, okay, great. So we got the green light, we're gonna rock and roll. So hang on. Okay, so we're over here where the new bait site's gonna be. We're putting it right up underneath an oak tree, natural food source, so that's always a kind of a no-brainer for us. here's our natural gap, or I say man-made gap. I would assume probably it looks like they could button it up if they wanted to. But if they were to push some cattle in here, then they could let them out without putting a gate up. Kind of a cheap little gate. But if you look here, you'll see all the rooting, okay, along the edge of this cotton field. That's all hog rooting there. So what are they rooting for? Generally nut grass. That's their candy. It's just they love nut grass and they just can't let it go. So they're out there. We've got woven wire fence here, which will keep hogs out. But like I said earlier, if you get a tree down or, whatever, crap happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of corn. We're going to throw some corn, like out here in this little bit of brushy area. And then we're going to make a little trail, Hansel and Gretel trail over there to our oak tree. And we'll kind of show you the setup we have over there, and we're going to wrap up. But yeah, this will work. They're odd. Hogs are odd in the sense of great sense of smell, but sometimes you almost have to throw corn and slap them in the face with it. But they never forget a food source, in our opinion. I mean, it could be a year before they come back to this property, but they'll remember, hey, there was corn right there, kind of like a deer. So we're going to throw some corn out, make a little Hansel and Gretel trail, buzz out of here, and just leave this alone and let it sit. So hang on. Okay, so we're over here at the bait site. I mean, literally just like, 75 yards that way is where that little gap is at. This is not our land over here that we're trapping. It's the adjoining landowners, who's also put up a woven wire fence. And so we see that a lot. It's like, okay, you put up one, I'm going to put up one. Well, where's the hogs going to go? Well, they're going to find a hole, or they're going to go to the next farm over to that farmer who can't afford to put up a fence. We've heard of programs putting up fencing and, some kind of where they'll help you put up fencing. And yeah, I don't really get that. I really don't. I mean, it's like everybody's going to have a fence up, but what about that poor guy that can't afford the fence or the percentage to buy the fence or whatever? And the hogs are just going to keep reproducing and getting more and more and more. The only solution that we know that works is trapping them intelligently and trapping groups and eliminating groups. And this proactive approach, we've shown with our business, it does work. It's a lot of work, but it actually does work. Is it hot out here today? It's better than snow. Yeah, it's a little warm, but we're not pressured knowing in 2 weeks there's planters going in the ground. We are on it now. So I'm going to show you how we got the camera set up. Nothing complicated with that, but kind of how we do it with these trees. We're not big on mounting any cameras on trees, just due to ants and squirrels. And coons are aggravating too. So hang on. We're running a Jaeger Pro ice camera. Tried to get as high as I could, didn't bring a ladder over. Keep all the wiring as far away from the camera, away from the tree as you can. This is actually a new wire that we've come up with, found it on the internet. It's actually got a metal casing on it. Squirrels will eat the hell out of that. Ants will get inside. I don't care how tight these fittings are. Ants will get in there. I'm not sure why, but they want to get in there. If you ever cut any vines or anything out when you're mounting a camera, and you're worried that they might swing and get in your camera, just zip tie them off to the side. Inevitably, we're about 25 miles from home right now. We don't need to drive up here to fix that. So pour a bunch of corn on the ground, and there you go. Currently have a few videos that we've been working on where it's like start to finish. Literally like start here, trap, drop gate. I don't think we've posted any of those videos yet. Not sure that we'll do that with this one. This is going to be a drawn out process. Here in a few months, we're going to be right up against the wall of deer season. What does that mean? Well, that means a bunch of people feeding deer, and that's going to change what these hogs are doing. Right now, that's a good food source for them. But when my neighbor over here, who I don't know, but I assume is going to feed deer, he's going to feed deer. And then he's going to shoot at deer. And then my group of 10 is now a group of 8, but I don't know that because he killed 2 of them. And we're waiting for that group of 10 to drop the gate on 10. So ideally for us, strategically, we will start these types of things going in June, July, August, somewhere in that range. And as soon as deer season ends here in the South, at the end of January, then we're trapping hogs. And right now, it's just kind of getting them set up for this. Not that most ideal location. We just don't have much to work with here. We are literally between that crop field, that crop field. Would love to be much, much further away, much further away from any crop field, but we don't have much to work with. Logistically, we can get equipment in here and we can get it out, so that's a huge consideration. The woven wire fence, I kind of like it, to be honest, here. I've got woven wire here, I've got woven wire over there, and I've got that gap. And that gap funnels into about a 10-acre jungle, a crap, where we know they're laid up in right now. And so all we got to do is get the right wind drift, get them to come through there, come here, and then we start building up. So hopefully the video helps. Very, very proactive approach. Cannot do an approach like this without 100% landowner cooperation, and that's why we're very selective about who we trap for. We want that landowner to understand what we're doing. This guy here, he gets it. Right now, all of our customers get it, which is very helpful for us because, you know, just leave us alone and let us do our job. And just get ahead of it. You would be surprised how many phone calls we get during planting season. Hey, could you come trap these hogs? No, it's too late. You know, we get people calling wanting to buy a trap during planting season. Too late. So just for you guys out there in TV land, if you're able to do it, try to think way ahead, like way, way ahead. 200 acres of peanuts are going to be in the ground there next April, and this is July. So appreciate the support. We have no clue what we're doing, but we're just trying to educate you guys and gals out there on trapping hogs intelligently. Y'all have a great day.